What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Funnel Vision Show. My name is Mikkel Dia. I am your host. I'm the founder of Funnelytics. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see that I'm in a slightly different setting. I'm at home today as opposed to in the office like I normally am. But it doesn't really matter because we still have another incredible guest for today's show. And we are going to dive into something that is actually one of the most powerful tactics to drive growth and to drive engagement and repeat business, also get conversions, but it's one of the most underutilized, and that is text messaging. We talk about emails all the time, but people have their phones on them more and they start to ignore emails, but text messages is not something that they typically ignore. So we're going to dive into how can we leverage text messaging to better increase conversions and drive more customers for our business. And we have an expert on this for today's call, Bianca Blake. Bianca, welcome to the call. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Mikkel. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's going to be fun because, again, this is something that I think is heavily underutilized. I underutilize text messages. We collect phone numbers, but we don't really do much with them. I'm very curious to dive into that. But as always with this show, we always start with what we call your not so humble bragging rights. So tell us a little bit about what you've been able to do for your clients, what you've been able to do for your own business. In other words, why should people listen to this episode and listen to you?
Absolutely. So I am Bianca Blake, co-founder of Klickrr. I have another co-founder. He's not on the call today. And Klickrr has been around in the way that it is now for the past 5 years. And prior to that, we both have been sort of serial entrepreneurs and done other projects and worked our own sort of company. So this is not our first go at a startup company. But we have, over the past 5 years, built our texting platform from absolutely nothing. My co-founder is our technical officer. He himself coded it, so it is an in-house platform. So we are very proud to have that as an asset within our company to be able to provide our customers our own in-house platform. We built a book of business, like I said, from nothing. We started off moonlighting and figuring out what would work. And listening to our customers, we went from having a very complicated platform that offered quite a few different features down to a simple texting platform that is really good at texting. We've been able to take some of our customers we have one customer that was restructuring their business, and they started off with business and then they went down to zero, and through texting, they've been able to grow to 5-figure monthly recurring revenue just from texting. The magic is you have an existing group of customers, you send them a text message to remind them to buy from you, they buy immediately. It definitely cuts through the clutter. So over the past 5 years, we've grown to have a small co-located team globally. We do have developers, we do have marketers. We put those things together and we support our software with service. We have multinational companies in our client base. We have government in our client base. We have small companies, e-commerce businesses in our client base, and we've been able to accomplish all of that in a short span of 5 years, even without investors. We bootstrap. My background is strategic marketing, so I do lead a team of marketing consultants that support our clients to insert texting into their existing marketing plan and media channel strategy. And as I mentioned, my co-founder is just as experienced on the developer side. So we're very proud of what we've been able to accomplish. A lot of it is education, because as you mentioned, that texting is not something that is what is thought of traditionally as a marketing channel. But once we get over that hump, people use it, they love it, and their companies grow because of it.
Yeah, that's true. It's just not something that people double down on or think about. It's a byproduct, and we'll dive into why that is. But let's take it a little bit back and walk me through how you even got into this texting game in general.
Yeah, so Prashant and I, as I mentioned, I was running a marketing consultancy, having been in corporate I think I was over like 10 years in corporate, and had done some expat experiences and marketing roles and whatever. Ended up leaving corporate after some volatility, starting my own marketing consultancy. And as part of that, I had a client in West Africa that was building a fintech platform, and I was running their marketing. Prashant was building their tech. So here we are, if you imagine, Douala, Cameroon. of all places. And we're working on this startup. And I start to ask the question, hey, Prashant, can you help me? I'm onboarding these clients. It's very manual. Can you help me systematize my marketing consultancy? Because I'm just the army of one, and I need systems. I don't have time to constantly do the same manual processes. And something that's taking me 2 weeks to do, he does in 5 minutes. So that was the initial sort of spark. And over time, we started working together and tinkering with different things. And we actually set out to build, I think what we were calling like a auto brand manager or something. Like we wanted to build like a marketing software to help people get strategy into their marketing plans, because nobody wants to pay for strategy. So we figured if we could make strategy easy, then we could get better marketing plans. That's where we started. And we had all these bells and whistles, and we connected and integrated into all different types of platforms. It was very complicated. And what we started doing was commercializing it. And a part of the platform that people loved the most was texting. So instead of being able to identify who your target is and easy segmentation and all these different strategic things that we were just like, yes, you need this so that your ads can work better for you. So like, but what about this texting thing? Can I send a text message without doing all this? And so we listened and we started charging for texting a la carte, and it was growing and people kept using it, and then more people wanted to use it, and it just organically became the thing that people wanted to use. And we started to realize that there's not really, in the same way of like email and pay-per-click ads and other digital means of communication, texting is very fragmented. It's the Wild West 5 years ago. And even prior to us actually properly starting the company is predating the company. There was rules and regulations, but most people were using texting in the way that they do in peer-to-peer texting, which is like you texting your family members, not recognizing that there are some protocols and regulation when you're doing app-to-peer texting or business texting. So we became fast experts of that. We learned a lot very quickly, made a couple mistakes along the way, of course, and then isolated the texting piece and began to commercialize it and create plans around it and create a client base of people that were using it, developed a value proposition to help them realize like where this would fit. We're the first ones to tell you that every communication is not going to be a text. It's not okay to spam people. And so we want to get the right communications in your text messages, because some things could have been an email. Some things could need to be a phone call or a meeting. But those things that need to be, that cut right through and are relevant for the immediacy, those are the messages that we don't want sitting in someone's inbox or spam box waiting for them to figure it out. So we over the last few years, we've been able to figure out how to communicate that to people that are a little bit uneasy about sending text but can benefit from them. So that's how we started. And over time, we have just continued to build our team in that way. Service supported software. That's our overall company mantra to deliver the texting.
So let's dive into the actual tactics and texting itself. So you mentioned, obviously, there's some regulations, or it's a business text. It's slightly different than when you text to a friend. So let's start there. What is the fundamental difference? What am I allowed to do versus what am I not allowed to do? And what happens if I do it?
Absolutely. So the very sexy topic of compliance.
Yeah, I know. Hey, let's make sure that we keep that one short, right? Because nobody cares.
Or at least make it exciting. So one thing about what you are allowed to do, you are allowed to send bulk text messages. You absolutely are allowed to do that. You can tell 1 million people at once about something. You can text them a link to an app, to a calendar link, a ticket to a show. You can bulk text, blast, and hit every phone, whether they have downloaded some app or every single phone in the world has texting capability. So that is a huge benefit, especially in the world where people are concerned about what are these private companies doing with my data. And it feels like everyone has certain apps. And when you hear the numbers, 1 billion people have this app. Yeah, but there's 8 billion people in the world. There's more than those amounts. So texting is universal. So I want to point that out. What you can do is hit everybody, from seniors that still have the little not so smartphones, if you will, to people that don't have the space on their phone to download yet another app. They can also receive a text. So that's what you can do, is send a text message to everyone. Now, texting does go out over federally regulated bandwidth. So there are some things that you cannot communicate. Can't talk about firearms. Can't talk about sexually explicitly sexual explicit material. You can't talk about things that aren't legal in all 50 states. So that includes we call it tobacco. There's an acronym, and the acronym includes the T but it basically means things like CBD or cannabis, not legal in all 50 states, can't communicate it. So there are some things that you cannot communicate, and you do need to get people's permission to text. This one is interesting because some folks are like, oh, building my list is such a difficult thing. But when you're texting your peers, you do give them permission to text them. Like, you just don't open up your phone and start texting people. It's someone who you know in real life that's giving you a verbal, hey, here's my number, send me a message. And you have essentially all compliances with business texting is following similar rules that you would follow in your peer-to-peer texting. So if you wouldn't text someone randomly in personal life, you can't text someone randomly in business life. That's pretty much it. So you build a list, you tell people, hey, if you've been emailing them, send them an email. I'm starting a text so that I can cut through this clutter, be looking out for a text. Send them a text, and you just put something in there that lets them know, hey, if they want to opt out, they can opt out if they're in. And that's pretty much it. Send a text. Some people are going to say, I don't want to hear about this. They'll opt out. They have an easy way to do that. And then the ones who don't opt out, you keep texting them. So the last thing I'll say about compliance for those people who are interested in how do you build a list, because it's a little bit mysterious to some people, is that we help with all that. That's why we have the service. We don't just let you add it on your own. You do need to get their permission to send them a text message from your phone number about what you're sending the message about at a specific frequency. So those are the 4 big things about compliance. Again, it's generally what you would do in peer-to-peer texting. It's just that is actually policy written to make sure that people aren't getting an inordinate amount of spam text. Nobody likes spam.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's very similar to email at this stage, right? You still need to get people to opt in and check a box. Not everybody does it, but certainly you're supposed to. There's certainly regulations around what should you email and what can you email versus what can you not email. So it's very similar in that sense. But of course, you've got to remember that the big difference is this will land directly on their phone versus it'll land in an email inbox that could potentially be filtered into spam or not. So I think that's the main thing that we always have to remember when it comes to texting. Now, when it comes to getting through the clutter, like you mentioned, and what should I be texting and at what frequency, let's break down the playbook, right? Let's think through and think of it as, cool, I'm building my list. I'm getting people's emails. I'm also getting their phone numbers. They clicked a little checkbox that say, I'm okay with you sending me messages, both in email and both in text messages. Cool. My list is being built. Where does text messaging fit in the strategy? What am I sending? What should I be sending in text messages? What does that look like? And tell me about frequency. And let's start breaking it down into a playbook.
For sure. So the first thing is the quality of your list. You want to make sure you build a high quality list. So these are people that know that you're going to text them. We advise against trying to dupe people into joining your list. Things like you get a coupon or something. If you sign up, they're signing up for the coupon. They're not signing up for your list. So you want people that desire the communication that you're going to send. You also want to segment your list so that the messages you're sending are as relevant as possible. So the quality of your list is extremely important, probably more important in texting than it is in any other communication channel. So if you're signing people up, let's say, for example, you're an airline and you're signing people that people check a generic box. Yes, I'm okay with you sending me messages. Now, there are certain people that are actively traveling and they want to know if their flight is delayed. There are other people who are not actively traveling and may want to know about a vacation special coming up. Those are 2 different lists. You don't want to be sending the actively traveled people, hey guys, you could be going to the Bahamas next spring break on this deal. They don't care about that. Is the flight late? Did it change gates? Like, they want to know so it's very important to segment the list and to be sending relevant information because these people are getting it real time. So that's the quality of the list. Number 1, create the list. Number 2, activate. So if you're a conference and you have some alerts about schedule changes, this keynote is going to be in Salon C as opposed to Salon B, like whatever messages that you're sending in real time, send those messages. Make sure that you got 160 characters. So you want to make sure less is more. You want to make sure you send the messages in that 160 characters. Side note, yes, you can send messages longer than 160 characters. Yes, you can send video and GIFs and graphics. You can send all that. It is advised to stick to 160 alphanumeric characters. Yes, you can send special characters and emojis and other language characters, upside down question marks if you're like texting in Spanish, or other characters of other language. All of that's permissible. It is advised to stick to 160 alphanumeric characters. Can't say that enough. People want to send all these. It is because no one wants to receive that. If you're in social media, if you're banner ads, all that, go crazy with your creative. But in texting, people want to receive it almost like it feels like it's native to the platform, which is alphanumeric characters, 160 characters or less. Activate, so send all that. And then afterwards, analyze. So after you've built a high quality list and segmented, you sending, and there's ways that we can do that. I haven't gotten into like how we help with list building. You send the messages that you're going to send. If it's in the moment, in the day, if it's over a period of time, you talked about frequency. We'll get to that in a second. Afterwards, you want to analyze and optimize. So take a look at how many messages were sent. Of those messages, how many were delivered? We're able to provide that information. Out of what was delivered, if you sent a link, we can shorten the link so that it fits into that 160 characters. How many people clicked on that link? Join up with your website analytics and take a look at what happened after. So be very cognizant of what this traffic is doing so that you can use that information to enter into the next campaign or continue to text the people that are within that campaign. So first you build a high quality list segment, then you activate, then you analyze and optimize. As far as frequency, you can send the messages at the frequency that you tell people you're going to send them the messages. So if you tell them you're going to send a message no more than once a month, if it's like a link to a newsletter or something, don't send them a message more than once a month. Only send them a message once a month, unless you tell them that you're going to be sending bi-weekly messages. So that's when you start getting opt-outs, it's mostly because you're being opportunistic or not holding up your end of the communications bargain, because these are people that are opting in. It's permission-based communication. They're opting in. So if you're getting their permission based on a set of rules that you put in place, then you should abide by those rules. So there's nothing wrong with sending people multiple messages throughout the day. If that's what they signed up for, they register for a conference and you're sending them a message every hour on the hour about this is happening here, click this link to download these. That's perfectly fine in that use case, because you've told them at registration, we're going to send you messages throughout the conference, and then you send that last message at the end. Thank you so much. Here's our survey. That's it, right? So it's a contract between the person receiving the message and the company sending it, and that should be honored.
Okay, but let's talk about making money, because that's ultimately what we all care about. And that's what we do. We're marketers. We're not here to make sure that you attend the right room in the conference. We're here to make sure you buy tickets to the conference, right? So walk me through, like you mentioned earlier, some things should be a phone call, some things should be an email, some things should be an ad, and some things just really need to cut through the noise and be text messages. So give me very specific examples of this is what I would send as a text message versus I wouldn't send this as a text message.
Yes. So for companies who have client base, this is like the sweet spot. Nudging your client. So the way that I could best describe it is if you have an existing customer base that is ordering from you on an ongoing basis, but you're not intimate enough with them to require an app or subscription or that kind of thing, that is the lowest hanging fruit for texting, right? So supplement companies, people order a 60-day supply of supplement. On day like 50, supplements about to run out, send them a text message, but see, segmenting the list. So these people ordered this supplement in this month. So now month after next, I'm going to send them a message reminding them that their supplements are about to run out with the link to order the supplement that they ordered. So they can just click that link. That text message rings the register every time. And the thing about it is that if you forget to order your supplements, you're not going to go back and order a double amount. You just skipped taking those supplements. Lawn care, home services, another one. If you skip a treatment on your lawn, you're not going to go get 2 treatments. That's just lost revenue. So you have a group of homes that you service. Nobody wants to have an app or a subscription to like their plumber or their lawn care guy or their pest control guy or whatever it is. But you send that message, the text message, hey, it's been 3 months since your last service, or hey, it's been 2 weeks since your last cut. And oh yeah, click the link immediately and schedule this thing. And it rings the register every single time. So those are potentially lost sales, that having that consistency, that you're not going to get someone to download your pest control app. I'm sorry. But you can send them a text message on an appropriate cadence and remind them and send them a deep link directly to where they need to go to sign up and get their permission to come and provide services. So those are just some specific examples of where. We also have one other use case quickly is efficiency. So for companies that are not necessarily looking to grow their revenue, but to have more efficient expenses so that they have higher profit. We have a company that's a logistics company, and they use texting because they make deliveries. And so they just text the recipients of their deliveries. Even though they've asked for it, they know it's coming, they text them to make sure that they are going to receive the delivery, so that they reduce their waste significantly by making sure that their delivery people aren't wasting time, gas, other resources delivering things that people are not going to be receiving.
No, that makes sense. I think if you think of it in terms of, because I receive a lot of texts I've opted in, I get a lot of texts. A lot of times I get texts that are more of an upcoming event. So something that's urgent or that's going to happen in the next little while, just to cut through the noise and be like, hey, did you get a chance to register? Sometimes I'll get texts. I think that's a great use case of just recurring revenue that isn't technically recurring, right? It's not a subscription. It's more reoccurring revenue where I should be doing this on a regular basis, but of course I don't want to sign up to a subscription for this. So that makes a ton of sense. And I think one of the things that people need to also remember is text message is very, very direct, and it's on the phone. So don't send people to a super long sales page that they got to scroll for 30 minutes to try to read through some stuff. It needs to be very quick and direct. Make sure that wherever you send them, it's user friendly. Don't send them to your app, for example, and like Funnelytics, for example, which is a desktop app, and then be like, here's a text message. Don't forget to log into the app. And the app doesn't work on mobile. So useless. So I think those are a couple cool additional tips. But man, this has been very enlightening in terms of how can you just add revenue and use text messages to just remind people by segmenting the list, building a high quality list, segmenting them, activating them, and then just analyzing that data, making sure you're clear on this. It's a really cool playbook that every marketer should be adding to their stack for sure.
Absolutely. And it's easier than you think it is. It's not that mysterious.
Yeah. So for those people who want to learn more, where can they learn more about you? And where can they learn more about texting?
Yeah, so they can find us at Klickrr.com. It's spelled Klickrr in typical tech fashion. It starts with a K, Klickrr with a K. So they can find us on our website. We are active on LinkedIn and Instagram, so they can find us over there as well. And get in contact with us. We will help you set up your first text campaign and be off and running.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing this. And just go ahead and check out Klickrr. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.